You had the quote a couple of weeks ago, kind of the insanity quote that was taken as kind of, you may be indicating you think a trade may need to happen. I mean, it's deadlines, nearing at this point. Where do you think something's?
I mean, the rest of that quote was it's up to us as players to perform, play at the level that we're supposed to, so that those conversations and decisions maybe a little easier. And obviously, I'm not a GM. I'm not in that position where I'm getting asked that every single day. My job is to go out there and perform. The closer you get to it, it's the nature of the NBA. You can't be naive and act like calls aren't being made wherever it is. But for us as players in the locker room, you have to be able to control what you can control. And until it's said otherwise or decisions are made, like it's up to us to go out and perform and hold our ground as a team that's a legitimate team that can win. And if you're not, then you approach things differently when the opportunity presents itself.
That's what Steph Curry said last night after we lost to the Hawks while he had 60 points. And there have been a lot of rumors about the Warriors, considering, of course, Draymond's suspension, underperforming players, underperforming team, the young guys with Steve Kerr not getting all the action. Kuminga, of course, now might be untouchable, which, if you asked me a month ago, I would expect him to be traded by this point more so than be untouchable. But hey, life works in funny ways.
Used to be known as a team that would live in the paint. They led the league in Kuminga.
Yeah, that's how you live in the paint right there, as we see Kuminga's going down the lane.
And now we're here as the trade deadline is approaching on Thursday, February 8th. And the Warriors have done nothing, are 12 in the West, out of the play-in. I'm pretty sure they're 21-26 or something like that. With that being said, let's talk about the deadline. As there have been some talks. As you can see here, I've outlined it for myself. And the talk surrounding the Warriors is that the coaches and the players don't feel that they need to make significant roster change. They want to be healthy again. Of course, Clay expiring contract, Kuminga, of course, is increasing his value on a possible extension. They are not interested in any player with a long-term money attached to him. With that being said, does that mean we can make any moves? I don't know. It feels stubborn. It feels weird. But at the same time, if you're not getting any value for Andrew Wiggins, you might as well keep him, right? Especially since he has been playing better lately, even though unfortunately he suffered a foot injury, but he's looked better, more spry, and more like himself lately. And it would make no sense to trade your best point of attack defender for less defense when defense is essentially your biggest problem at the end of the day. So, what can the Warriors actually do? We've been here, we've done these trade speculations, trade rumors, trade proposals all the time. You see it everywhere. I just want to go over the roster and tell you what I think, right? Steph, of course, is untouchable. There's no doubt about it. Clay, I don't think you'll get anything of value for him at this stage and age. And with the way he's performed this season, quote-unquote performed, because I still think he's been pretty good. He just, when he has his slow moments, they are really low. And he has not had those explosive highs as much as he did last year, for example. But I don't think he's been as bad as people make it out to be. He still has a lot of value. Of course, it can be really frustrating with him because it really feels like he's not playing as much for the team as he used to. But he is still, I would say, untradeable at this point from both ends of the spectrum in a way. But you could make an argument that Clay should be traded and we should want him traded. Chris Paul is the one guy you should be thinking about trading, right? Small guard, doesn't help you on defense. Of course, he's a really good player still. He can run the point for the second unit, but he also gives you more of a log jam with Steve Kerr wanting to close with him as the secondary ball handler to not have Steph on ball all the time. Even though now we have Draymond back, maybe he wouldn't do that, and maybe Chris Paul would be okay with that, but we just don't know that. And I feel like if you take away Chris Paul from Steve Kerr and give him a big for Chris Paul, it would make much more sense than trading him. At the same time, Steve Kerr himself talked about Chris Paul and GP2 getting back and that you can get anything much better than those two out of the trades. So I guess that really answers the question on Chris Paul. Andrew Wiggins, 4 years, 24 millions. He's getting back to being more himself. I think it makes no sense to trade him, especially if his value is really low because of the contract and because of how he performed most of the year. So it really would make no sense to trade him unless you could get a huge star or a huge defensive upgrade for him, I guess. Or I don't know, man. I just don't think you can get anything of value for Wiggins considering all the trade market speculation we've been having. And, well, more teams are buyers than sellers, I would say still. Draymond, of course, you're not trading Draymond. GP2 could be a salary filler if you were to trade Chris Paul, but like I said, Steve Kerr probably doesn't want to do that. Looney is a candidate you could really trade, right? He has been really bad. Eye test-wise, he's borderline unplayable at times, and maybe he just, unfortunately, his body gave up on him. It could be it, man. He's had a lot of injuries. He's played a lot of games in the last 2 years. So it might just be his body giving up on him a little. Who knows, man? Because he's been through a lot with his injuries throughout his career. So tough to say, but Looney is certainly a candidate. Kuminga, you're probably not trading considering the way he's performed lately. And essentially being the biggest bright spot of the season with Brandon Podziemski, who... these two guys, if you wanted to get something of value, they would probably have to be traded, at least one of them, maybe both of them. And like I said, is there really anything of value out there that can make this team that much better? Maybe LeBron, if you were to trade for LeBron, I guess, but we all know that LeBron is not getting traded. Moody is probably the most likely of the young guys, or the youngest guys to get traded, in a way. But I don't know, man. It would have to be, once again, with Chris Paul attached or Looney attached. For a center, I would assume. For a center, or maybe Caruso, who has been in the speculation mill for us. And then, out of all these other guys, once again, probably salary fillers, right? So when you look at it, Wiggins' value is too low to trade him. Clay's value is too low to trade him, really, I would say. And then you have Chris Paul, GP2, Kevon Looney, Moody, and if you were to include Kuminga and Podziemski as trade pieces, you can, but I don't think those two will be traded at all, and I don't think they should. I wouldn't want that to happen because I think I grew too attached to them already, and with Kuminga's ascension, all of a sudden, it would be a mistake, in my opinion. Now, when you look at the trade partners, I've talked about this before. Who are they, right? The Magic, you could trade with the Magic, and you could get a Jonathan Isaac maybe, but I think that's an ideology clash. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'll not talk about it. But he would make sense defensively. And if you could get him for a Chris Paul, who could help stabilize things off the bench for the Magic, maybe, I don't know, it wouldn't make much sense for them, in my opinion, anyway. And maybe a Moody as a shooter, as a young shooter. And if you were able to get Wendell Carter with him, attach some picks to it, like, this would be a good trade for us, in my opinion. We would get bigger and more defensive, probably a lot better defensively, and it would make sense. Maybe you could, if you didn't want Jonathan Isaac for the ideology reasons I talked about, you could try Markel Fultz. We love our guards, right? He's not been healthy, and he's had a rough season with injuries, so it would not make as much sense. It would not make as much. It would not make as much sense as it would with John Isaac in there. But like I said, I'm just presenting you opportunities and possibilities. Then the Bulls. Zach LaVine is injured, so would you want DeMar DeRozan for a Chris Paul and a Moody? I don't know. If you were to, for example, do this, and you would give them all of this, and maybe you would be greedy and try Andre Drummond, and you would attach some picks to it. Would this work? Hey, this could be a fun trade, right? But at the same time, with DeMar in there, you would have to put him in the starting lineup. Now you would have another weird mesh. Kuminga would have to go back to the bench. And I don't think this would really happen. The more likely scenario is that it could be, of course, without DeMar DeRozan. And you would have to attach Moody, Looney, and maybe even a Trace. So they could get more young guys, of course. Some type of first round picks would have to be attached to this. Probably one unprotected, most likely, one maybe protected. I don't know, because I've seen the Bulls asking price for Caruso be 2 first round picks, and if you saw any reports for example, the Nets, they rejected an offer of 5 first round picks for Mikal Bridges, apparently, 2 first round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith, apparently. So, do you really want to do that and attach a Moody to it, attach a Chris Paul to it? Does it make you that much better this year? Does it really shift a 12 seed? Does it really erase all the issues of a 12 seed? I don't know, man. And then when you have these lowly teams, could you get a PJ Washington? Is it worth it to get a PJ Washington? Maybe. Fuck this motherfucker. Pardon me, fuck this guy. And on the Wizards side, could you get Kuzma? Would you want Kuzma, really? I guess, on paper he feels right, but to me, on eye test basis, he doesn't feel as right as he did probably a month ago when I watched the Wizards. But at the same time, it's the Wizard culture, so I guess I'm a little overreacting to that. Could you get a Bojan Bogdanovic? Maybe. Could you trade with the Hawks who just beat you? Clint Capella, Bogdanovic, DeJounte Murray. I don't know, man. It really feels like there isn't anything worth doing, really. We've heard the speculation that Herb Jones could be traded, so could you trade Moody, GP2, maybe you would trade Looney for a Herb Jones, and you could get better defensively here. Could work, maybe. And he is on a solid contract. So there are some options for sure. But at the same time, the value of our best assets, quote unquote best assets, in Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Chris Paul, will not be as high as you would like them to be. Very likely Wiggins because of his performance, Chris Paul because of his age, and Klay because of his performance, the value of his contract. And then, of course, the biggest value would be in Kuminga and Podziemski, but those are your 2 biggest bright spots this season. And if you trade both of them, can you really get anything back in return that makes this a championship team in the upcoming years? That's better than these 2 guys developing? I don't know. Considering the way Kuminga's looked, I don't think so. And Podziemski himself too. So these are my thoughts about the Warriors trade deadline. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think there are moves to be made that would make the Warriors that much better? And if there are, leave them in the comment section, please. I would very much love to see them. I think a marginal move, my favorite move would be for a Wendell Carter. If you were to, tell me who I want the most out of this trade deadline, I would want Wendell Carter, most likely. Maybe just trade for Andre Drummond, for fuck's sake. Just some center size. There are some centers. Clint Capella is an option. Claxton is an option, even though the Nets are a rough trade partner. Jakob Pearl is most likely not able to be traded, even though he resigned with these rebuilding Raptors. Maybe you could try him out. We've had that speculation a lot. I don't know his value, though. The Hornets don't have a center you can trade for. The Wizards, you could go for Daniel Gafford. So there are big bodies you could for sure want to get reunited with James Wiseman. But at the end of the day, we'll have to wait and see what the Warriors do. I'm not expecting maybe anything really. If so, one really small move. But I don't see it happening at all, even though we are the 12th seed and we should make a marginal move for a center, like I said. Anyway, as always, be kind to others. Love and be, baby, as always.